For more than a century, the term Italian mafia meant power, fear, and untouchable wealth. From the back roads of Sicily to the streets of New York, his name alone can silence a room. He ruled the drug trade, politics, and manufacturing, and had a hand in everything from Hollywood to the Vatican. But behind the suits, guns, and blood oaths was a darker truth. The mafia was never destroyed by the police, the government, or rival gangs. It was destroyed from within, eaten alive by the very things that made it powerful: greed, pride, and betrayal. This is how power and money disintegrated the world's most dangerous criminal empire. To understand their downfall, we have to go back to where it all began, in Sicily, Italy in the 19th century. The mafia was not born as a criminal organization. It began as a group of local families defending their communities from corrupt officials and foreign invaders. But patronage soon turned into extortion. He began charging farmers and merchants for protection, and those who refused quickly learned the price of disobedience. The word mafia implies both protection and punishment, a system of loyalty that rules through silence and fear. By the 20th century, this Sicilian code of honor had spread far beyond Italy. When millions of Italians moved to America, the mafia followed them. In cities such as New York and Chicago, Italian immigrants brought with them a similar structure of families, each headed by a powerful proprietor. They called it Cosa Nostra, our thing. It was more than an organization. It was a way of life. Each member took an oath of silence and promised loyalty above everything, even family, even life. This loyalty kept him invincible for decades. The mafia flourished in America during Prohibition, when alcohol was banned. While the government tried to control morality, the mafia saw an opportunity. He smuggled whiskey, opened illegal bars, and made millions overnight. Figures like Al Capone became household names, gangsters who lived like kings and ruled cities like emperors. In Italy, powerful bosses like Lucky Luciano and Vito Genovese linked the two continents, creating a global web of crime. Money flowed, politicians were bought, and the police kept turning a blind eye. For a while, it seemed as if the mafia might never fall. But the problem with unlimited power is that it is never united. As money increased, greed also increased. By the 1960s and 70s, the mafia had expanded into heroin trafficking, a business so profitable that it dwarfed traditional rackets. The entire family became obsessed with money and control. The Sicilian mafia, led by brutal bosses like Toto Riina and Bernardo Provenzano, believed that fear was the key to dominance. They killed judges, prosecutors, and politicians who stood in their way. He believed that he could silence the world with bullets. But in doing so, he signed his own death warrant. The violence became so extreme that other mafia families also started turning against each other. Old rules of honor, such as the protection of women, children, and innocent people, were discarded. The mafia that once boasted of honor became a monster that devoured its own people. In 1981, the Corleonesi faction began a brutal civil war inside the mafia. Hundreds of people were brutally murdered. The streets in Palermo ran red with the blood of their own people. The more power they gained, the more insane they became. No one trusted anyone. The brotherhood that once swore eternal allegiance now lives in fear of each other. And while they were busy killing each other, the government saw a way out. The 1980s brought a new era of Italian justice, led by fearless prosecutors like Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. He decided to use the mafia's greatest weapon: silence. For decades, no one had dared to speak out against Cosa Nostra, but now something unprecedented happened. A former mafia boss, Tommaso Buscetta, turned informant. His testimony became the foundation of the Maxi Trial, one of the largest criminal trials in world history. The Maxi Trial began in 1986 and lasted for approximately 2 years. Over 475 mafia members were convicted, and over 300 were convicted. The Italian state publicly exposed the structure, name, and secrets of Cosa Nostra for the first time. The mafia went berserk. They assassinated judges, blew up police officers, and bombed highways. But his violence united the country instead of scaring it. Those who once remained silent finally stood up. The mafia has crossed a line which it can never cross. As the years passed, his empire began to collapse. The mafia that once controlled entire cities was now hunted like animals. One boss after another was caught. Riina in 1993, Provenzano in 2006. Their arrest symbolizes more than the fall of individuals. They mark the end of an era. The fear that had kept them safe for decades began to dissipate. People in Sicily openly opposed him. Businesses that had once paid protection money began to refuse. The mafia's own brutality had turned the public against them. But even after the fall of the old mafia, its corruption continued to rot from within. Money laundering became a new addiction. The young generation of mafia no longer wants to live in the shadows. They wanted luxury, fame, and status. He wore designer suits, partied in Milan, and invested in real estate and fashion. But the more he tried to blend in with the upper class, the more he lost his discipline. Their loyalty turned to greed, and their structure began to collapse. What was once a secret brotherhood became a group of selfish businessmen fighting for profit. Meanwhile, globalization changed everything. The drug routes that once made the Italian mafia rich are now dominated by Colombian cartels and Eastern European syndicates. Technology made transactions harder to conceal, and international cooperation between police forces became stronger. The influence of mafia in America also weakened. The FBI dismantled the powerful five families in New York through decades of surveillance, undercover agents, and witness testimony. By the 2000s, the mafia was no longer as feared as before. It still existed, but only as a shadow of its former form. The fall of the Italian mafia wasn't just due to bullets. This was due to corruption of purpose. What started as a code of honor turned into a machine of greed. Power that was once shared became concentrated in the hands of a few dictators. And loyalty, the heart of the mafia, became meaningless. They forgot that even criminals need discipline to survive. He replaced silence with arrogance, unity with doubt, and respect with terror. And in doing so, he destroyed himself. Nevertheless, the mafia did not disappear completely. It got adapted. Today, Italy's organized crime has evolved into modern forms. White-collar corruption, cybercrime, and corporate infiltration. They no longer need guns to rule. They use money, banks, and influence. The 'Ndrangheta, another southern Italian group, quietly became even more powerful than the Sicilian mafia, controlling billions of drug money throughout Europe. But they also suffer from the same disease that killed Cosa Nostra: greed. Every generation that tastes power starts the same cycle of betrayal. The story of the mafia is the story of human nature, how absolute power always collapses under its own weight. No matter how loyal, how organized, or how feared an empire is, greed ultimately turns brothers into enemies. The Italian mafia once ruled cities, assassinated presidents, and terrorized nations. But in the end, it was not the police who destroyed them. It was them. The lesson is universal. Be it crime, politics, or business. When ambition turns to obsession and loyalty turns to greed, destruction always follows. The fall of the mafia is proof that no empire built on fear and money can last forever. Because power not only corrupts, but also consumes. And once it starts eating, it doesn't stop until there's nothing left to eat. The Italian mafia was once a symbol of unbreakable power. Now it's a warning, a ghost of its own legend. What took a century to build collapsed under the weight of arrogance and betrayal. And in the ruins of Cosa Nostra, one truth is clear. Every empire, no matter how strong, ultimately destroys itself when greed becomes its god.